I'm Dale Singer from the Beacon. I have a question about, for all three of you, about the effort to repeal the state income tax. What do you think about that, and how high do you think the sales tax would have to go to make up for the revenue?
Well, I'll answer that because it comes, I guess, oftentimes from my side of the aisle. Let me say this. I have some interest in the fair tax or reducing the tax burden for individuals. But let me say this. There's a lot of things that I have concerns about that fair tax. And I probably shouldn't be this frank and candid with you, but I can't see us passing that fair tax in this session. Now, I'm just one senator, and I probably shouldn't make that kind of statement. But there's a lot of details in that tax, in that proposal, that concern me. And you ask a good question. How much does the sales tax have to be? You know, they talked about 7.5% or 8%. But just what, this last year, the realtors, I guess, passed, wasn't it, some type of initiative that would exclude them from that, and then, you know, then you start taxing attorneys and CPA services, and you know, then you get into this issue. Well, certain ones want to be exempted out, right, and then everybody else wants to be exempted out, and before long, you know, you're talking about 10, 12, 13%. So I mean, the concept intrigues me, but for me, there's got to be a lot. I've got to have a lot of answers.
It's a lobbyist dream. They would love it.
Yeah, and we actually did a fiscal analysis. I think, to the senator's point, it's a moving target, because when some of the criticism comes back on we're going to tax nursing homes, they exempt nursing homes from the tax, and they have a new version. And so it's a moving target to try to figure out what the tax rate would actually have to be based on the services that would be taxed. Based on the analysis we've seen, one of the versions would require like a 14% sales tax rate with the average local tacked on, so about 14%. And we fondly refer to that version as Buy Kansas, because people would go over the border to Kansas and start buying things at that kind of tax rate.
Buy Illinois.
So it's to the senator's point, you really have to look at the specifics, and I think it takes, a lot of the senators have said, we need to study this. We don't want to just do something knee-jerk reaction and have it not be what we anticipate.
But it is subject, or possibly subject to a vote of the people if a petition goes through, right?
That is correct. Yep, it could go.
Yeah, we've seen about 8 initiative petitions now.
Wouldn't it be nice not to call this the fair tax?
Yes.
Right.
There must be another term we can come up with. It creates great laughs, but it's crazy.
You know, in saying all this, and I know, you know, we don't. There's some things about the proposal we don't like, but in all seriousness, there are states that, because they have done some pretty dramatic things in eliminating tax, and I know it doesn't make sense initially to say, well, you're lowering your tax, so you're going to lower your revenue. That's the thought that most people have. But generally, under normal economic times, there comes a point where you have a lower tax, and it generates more income and revenue. I mean, I think we've seen that down through history. I think President Kennedy had that same type of principle that he implemented back when he is in office. But you know, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years before that effect takes place. In other words, you reduce the tax liability, and initially your revenue into the state comes down, but after the 2nd or 3rd year, under what I call normal economic conditions, and obviously I'm not certain, this is not exactly normal, that after 2 or 3 years, because you've reduced that tax burden, you see more economic activity and commerce, and actually the revenues start to go up.